Hey there y'all, welcome back to part 3 of this YouTube series on how to build and hack a web application. Let's go ahead and get straight into it. What SQL is it was a programming language invented by Microsoft in order to manage relational databases, and it's one of the most common and easiest to use databases in existence. What we're going to be using it for is creating a SQL database on our SQL server that we created in episode 2, and then we're going to be filling it with dummy data in order to have simulated sensitive user information. And then we're going to connect it to the web application that we build. So we're going to have, say, fake names, emails, birth dates, etc., so that we can have something to hack into, if you will. So in this video, we're just going to put that dummy data in the SQL database that we create, connect it to a PHP website, and then code up a PHP website that will spit all the data out for us so that we can make sure that the connection works. Let's get straight into it.
Alright, so the very first thing I did here is pop out to our virtual machine, the Ubuntu server that we made in episode 2, and I logged in. Now the very first thing I'm going to walk you guys through is how to enable SSH so that you guys can SSH into this virtual machine, because we're going to be doing some copying and pasting for the database schema, and that will be a lot faster if we can copy and paste. So in order to do so, just go ahead and run sudo vi /etc/ssh /ssh config. Make sure you do it sudo because you're going to need root privileges to do this. Scroll down in the host file and you'll find port 22. This is going to be commented out like that, so you just got to get rid of that comment. And then we're going to come out of that, save it, exit, and then go to /ssh config. And we're going to see port 22 is commented out here, so we'll uncomment that. Save this, and now we're going to keep this virtual machine up and running, but we can minimize it because we're no longer going to be using this interface for it. We'll just SSH in since it'll be easier. So I just opened up a terminal here from my desktop on my actual computer, and I'm going to SSH into the user Seth at the IP address of my virtual machine, which is going to prompt me for my password. And now you can see I'm logged into the user Seth at the virtual machine, which is also named Seth. If you don't know how to get your IP, just go ahead and come out here to your actual virtual machine and run IPAS, and then you'll see there 192.168.1.28 is the IP of my machine right there. Or if you don't see it when you do that, you can run ifconfig, and again you'll see your actual inet address right there. 192.168.1.28 is mine. So go ahead and minimize that. Now I'm at the user Seth at Seth, right? Now the next step is going to be to create our actual dummy database. So you guys are going to have to pop out to this link here, which I will copy and paste into my terminal so you can see it and read it, and then I'll read it off to you. It is http://filldb.info/dummy. This is the URL that you'll pop out to. So let's go ahead and just open up a browser and paste that in. And the very first thing it's going to do is give you sample database code for a table named authors with an ID column, a first name, last name, email, birth date, and what time they were added column. Just hit test sample database schema and then generate the authors table. Now you can see you have first name, last name, email, birth date, and an added timestamp. So what we're going to do from here, it's going to ask you what number of rows you want to be generated. Well, let's just generate 250 unique records, and we'll hit generate data. And just like that, we have this entire database called authors with 250 rows of random information with a unique ID number, first name, last name, email, birth date, and a timestamp for when they were added. Now we're going to go ahead and export this. Okay, so authors beta.sql. I'll go ahead and open this. Right click on this and hit open with other. You're going to want to open this up with some sort of a text editor that you have. So I'm going to use PyCharm. CE, and you can use any text editor that you have. Okay, finally finished uploading, so now we're going to actually create our table. So this is the actual database in the text editor, all the stuff creating the actual table structure and inserting all of the values into the table. For some reason mine opened up horizontally, which is very strange. I've never seen that before, but we'll run with it. So what we're going to do is pop over to our SSH terminal, and we're going to start our SQL shell, mysql-u root-p, and put in the password that you set for your SQL shell whenever we were creating our SQL server in episode 2. Actually, you're going to create a database. You can call it whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it dummy data, and then put your colon. So now if you run show databases, you will see that you have a database there called dummy data. Now we're going to run the command use with that name specified, dummy data, database change. Now we are going to open up our text editor, and from where it says create table authors down through set character client, we're going to copy that, and now we're going to copy all that stuff in. So now if you select, or actually if you run show tables, you'll see that you have one table in dummy data named authors, but there's not anything in that table because we haven't put anything in it yet. Show or select all from authors, you can see we have an empty set. Now if you go back over to your schema and you come down to where it says insert into authors, okay, what we're going to do is copy and paste all of those rows. Mine is horizontal, so it actually makes my life easier, honestly. I could get down with that. But you guys are probably going to be normal and have it vertically, whatever the case is. You're going to copy, insert into authors, values, and all of those unique records which we generated from that SQL DB website. So copy and paste that into the SSH terminal. And now if we run that same command of select all from authors, you can see we have 250 rows in our set returned to us, and this is going to be our dummy data, our sensitive user information, if you will. So now what we're going to need to do, now that we have our database connected, is we're going to have to create a file called database connect in PHP so that we can establish the connection from our database to our PHP websites as we begin to code them. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to hit Control-Z and stop our SQL shell, and then we're going to navigate into our var www HTML directory, list everything out. You see we have nothing yet. I'm going to run sudo vi and create a file called dbconnect, standing for database connect. So my password is that, and now here's what we're going to do. It's going to be a basic PHP file just establishing this connection. So we'll go ahead and get our close tag, and these are the variables that you're going to have. Database server name, and that's going to be called localhost. And then the database username is going to be equal to, for me it's going to be Seth, but it's whatever your username is for your virtual machine. And then you're going to type in whatever your password is to access your database. For me, I'm just going to call it password for how I'm showing you guys before I change it to my actual password. But it's whatever your password is to access your SQL shell. And then your database name is well, I just named it dummy data, but it's whatever you decided to name it. And then we're going to declare this variable called con for the connection, and we're going to use this method called mysqli connect, which takes these parameters in this specific order: db server name, and then db username, and then db db password, and db name. Alright, and then we're just going to go ahead and save and exit this, and I'm going to go ahead and change my password so you guys don't see it. Alrighty, now that we have the file establishing the database connection, we're going to just code up a code, not crode, making up new words here, y'all. I'm going to code up a simple page that will confirm that our connection was successful. We'll just call it showdata.php. So go vi show underscore data.php. So here's how this is gonna go. We're gonna open up our PHP tags, and we're gonna enable some error reporting so that we can see if anything goes wrong in the process of debugging. Always a good idea. Just enable all, and then initialize set error reporting all. This is just going to make it so that we'll basically get explanations from our errors rather than just terminal vomit if something goes wrong, so we can debug easier. And then we'll display underscore errors, comma 1. There we go. And then close that off. And now this is the most important line here. This is how we're actually going to establish the connection to the database. So we're going to put include underscore once, and we're going to specify the path and the file of database connect. So we're including once in this file on our var www HTML path. We're going to include the dbconnect.php file in this web page, so that way we can establish the connection from our dbconnect file to this web page that we're creating. So now we'll go ahead and close off this PHP tag, and we're going to start some basic HTML. Doctype HTML. Now we'll put our head and then title, and we can just call this page show data, and then we'll break the title. And now we'll close off the header, and then we'll get into the body. Now, from here, we're going to open up another PHP tag, and we're gonna create our variable for what our SQL query is going to be to get all that data from the page, to make sure that, or get all the data from the database and spit it out on the page. So we're going to run SQL, and this is the actual SQL command to retrieve the data. Select all from our table name as authors, and then we'll close that off. Now the result of that query will be stored in a variable called result, and we'll just use this method here called Mysqli Query, which is going to take two parameters. It's going to take the connection variable from our dbconnect file, and then it's going to take our SQL query string, which is specified as a variable right above it, and it's going to store these results in an associative array, which is pointing to the results. Now we'll make a variable called result check using, oops, actually I'm gonna add the space here, and then we'll use the method mysqli number of rows, just count the number of rows, and pass it the result of the query. And then we're just going to make a simple if statement to make sure that it spits out all of the rows until there's none left. So if result check of the number of rows is greater than 0, then we're going to put a open bracket and make a while loop. So while the $row is equal to Mysqli fetch assoc result, we're going to go ahead and echo out all of this information. We're going to echo the row bracket ID, and then I'll just put a period, and I'm going to put a, I cannot remember for the life of me what this thing's called right now, but I'm just going to put it as a kind of like a separating functionality so that not all our data isn't all smushed together. So we'll put the ID, and then we'll fetch the first name, the last name, the email, the birth date, etc. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this so I don't have to type all of these. Command C and then Command V. So there's ID, first name, last name, email, birth date added. Now I'm just going to change these. So the last one is added, and then before that is birth date. So these are just the variable names in our SQL database, which I'll show you guys in a second, that we're fetching from the rows. So added, birth date, email, last name, and first name are going to be the ones I need. Last underscore name and first underscore name. Oops. Okay, and then at the very end of all this, I'm just going to put a break, period, open this, open this, put a BR for a break after each line so that way it doesn't all run together, and then we'll close that off. Now we'll close up the while loop and the if statement, and I believe that should be good. So we'll go ahead and save that. Oh my goodness. What do you mean you can't save the file? I think it's because I didn't open it with sudo. So what I'm going to do is just copy all of this, and then I'm going to hit quit without saving, and then I'm going to run sudo vi, open that back up again, and paste it all back in. Don't let the computer be smarter than you. Now we should be able to go out to a browser and run, well, let's just get your IP address, right? ifconfig, this is your IP address of your machine. So I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm going to go out to a browser, and then I'm going to hit Command V / show data.php. And I'm not getting anything. Let's show the page source. And we're not getting anything right now. Okay, so let's troubleshoot. And PHP SQLs. Oh, there's our problem. select all ROM authors. No, it's select all from authors. Come on, Seth. Come on now. That's probably it. And if we go back out to the browser, and we hit refresh, and we're still getting nothing. Okay. So let's go back to the files. I'm special. I am special. There's supposed to be a period after each of the separating characters that I put here. It's always stupid syntax stuff that gets you. So just remember, if you have a problem that seems like a big problem, it's probably not really a big problem. It's probably just something stupid. And then put a period there. Oops. And then one more debugging thing was in result, make sure this is Mysql I query. I told you guys just Mysql query. It needs to be Mysql I query, more up-to-date version of PHP. PHP-version, so you guys can see I was having some issues there for a second with the type of PHP that I was running, but as you can see, I'm running PHP 7.2 here, so as long as you're running this version of PHP or more up to date, then you should be good with all these, all this PHP code. So now if we just pop out to a browser and go to the IP address of our virtual machine, we can see the files we've created, and we will click on show data.php, and right there you can see the ID number, first name, last name, email, and birth date, and the time they were added for our entire database spit out on this web browser. As you can see, if we were to spin up mysql-u root-p and put in our password and use dummy data, and then select all from the authors table. Oops. Oh, I didn't mean to put table. Select all from authors. This entire database is exactly what's being spit out onto this web page. So that is how you create a SQL database. Fill it with dummy data, connect it to a PHP page, and then spit out all the data.
Alrighty guys, I hope you found that helpful. I really appreciate you taking the time to stick around and watch to the end. Nerds must unite, so thanks for watching. And I'm just going to encourage you guys, please, to share this video if you know somebody else who's into this type of stuff that might find it interesting. And check out my other videos on the channel. I have a bunch of tech content. I have technical breakdowns. I have conceptual videos. And then I also make content on finance, entrepreneurship, business development. And yeah, so subscribe to the channel if any of those sorts of things interest you. Like this video, please leave it a thumbs up if you found it useful. And you can find my personal website in the description of the video, where you'll find all my social medias. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, you know, all the main ones. So go engage with me on there. Don't miss out for the announcement for the next video. I believe the next video in this series is I'm going to be showing you guys how to create a page to insert data into the database, and then create a PHP page to overwrite data into the database. And then from that point, that should conclude the build phase of how to build and hack a web application. Then we can get into the hacking part. So yeah, from that point we'll be attacking the web application using SQL injection, cross-site scripting, getting into Burp Suite, doing a whole bunch of fun stuff, and then from that point securing it. So thank you guys for watching. Until next time, y'all, I'm out.